Music heavy, pulsing, alive, thudded through the wooden floors as my feet marked time. My t-shirt clung with sweat, the edges of my vision blurred with exertion, a haze of bodies arcing and twisting across the bright, airy studio. The walls glittered with late afternoon sunlight, and yet the air felt tight, thick, as if waiting for something to snap. I finished the sequence, lungs burning, steps echoing into silence. For a moment I clung to that brief pocket of hope. Years of practice, rehearsals after school, nights when my muscles ached so fiercely I wanted to cry, I'd channeled it all into these movements. Face uplifted to the ceiling's fluorescent glare, I waited, hungry for approval. Instead, laughter. Not the soft kind, but sharp, syrupy mean. Karina's voice carved through the quiet so loud it bounced off the mirrored walls. "You look like a frog jumping rope," she tipped her head, ponytail flouncing. "What even is that move, Moro?" The others giggled, faces pinched between embarrassment and delight at being on the right side of the insult. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. My cousin Renato smirked, gave me a "what did you expect" sort of squint, his glance strung worse than Karina's mockery. These were my people, family, neighbors, classmates. Their words splintered into me, rattling my bones. "That's not even real dancing," someone muttered. "Go try that at an audition, let's see what you get." The instructor tried to regain control with a cough, but the poison was loose. Heat flushed up my neck. This was supposed to be critique, constructive, organized. Instead it was a roast and I was dinner. I burned with shame. My mouth tasted like coins. I nodded, said nothing. Even the sun, which just moments ago had painted us gold and brave, seemed to shrink out of sight. I left early that day, coming down the studio's steps slower than usual, bag thumping against my side. Home was only 3 blocks away, but it felt far, my thoughts tumbling over each other. "You're not good enough. They're right. This dream is ridiculous." I barely made it through the front door before my mother was at the kitchen. She didn't dance, didn't really understand why it mattered to me, but she saw the defeat in my eyes. "Dance is for fun, Moro," she said gently, as if afraid that harder words would shatter what was left of me. "Sao Paulo has thousands of dancers. Don't waste your time chasing something no one believes in." She thought she was protecting me. Instead, her words joined the echoing chorus of doubt. At dinner, my aunt asked if I'd thought about university, said perhaps I should get serious about my future. My sister Andrea snickered. Even my uncle, who once boasted to his friends about my energy, now shook his head whenever the topic of dance crept up. I started moving smaller in the world, stopped talking about choreography at the table. I danced in secret, late at night, headphones on, sheets for curtains so no one saw me spinning alone in the cramped living room. The city beyond my window buzzed with possibility, the music of buses, street hawkers, the exotic tastes of faraway dreams. But I belonged to the humbler melody of our block, its routines and rituals, its safe contempt. School ended, I took odd jobs at a repair shop, then as a barista. The money was little but necessary. Each paycheck vanished by month's end, feeding the logic that I should give up. "You'll thank us one day," my father said. "Hard work is better than broken dreams." But inside me the urge to move never ebbed. My body remembered, hips rolling, feet striking out ever more complex patterns. I felt alive only in those moments. Still, shame always lingered. At parties or family gatherings I watched others laugh, kiss, dance. I pressed myself into corners, too scared to try. Then one day, a coincidence, a blessing, or just a turn in the weather, I saw a post for a free workshop. "Street Fusion Intensive with Inez Rocha," scrawled in saffron ink. Inez Rocha, her name alone was legend on Paulista Avenue, the talk of every aspiring Sao Paulo dancer. I hesitated. Then, fueled by something bitter and electric in my chest, I signed my name. The class was at a small, patched-up studio on the other side of the city, in a neighborhood where the graffiti was more colorful than the buildings themselves. The room sweated with talent, girls with dyed blue hair, boys in torn shirts, couples who moved as if born connected. I was different. I felt my fear, my shame curl around my heart. Inez Rocha entered barefoot, eyes as fierce as a hawk. She watched us, arms crossed. When my turn came, I stumbled. My nerves screamed, but she didn't laugh. Instead, she nodded and said, "Try again, but dance like the city is watching you." Her words hooked onto my ribs, dragged me upright. I closed my eyes, pictured the endless, hopeful pulse of Sao Paulo. The samba drifts at midnight, the boys skateboarding on cracked asphalt, the women selling fruit at market stalls. I danced as if each beat could free me from all I'd ever been told. For the first time in years, I felt brave. Afterward, Inez pulled me aside. "You have something unique. Don't let anyone cut you small. Intend you want more." Show up next week. The classes became my secret escape. Metros at dawn, sets of exercises in borrowed shoes, bruises hidden beneath torn jeans. Inez was relentless but fair. She coaxed pain from my limbs, patience from my heart. My body began to change, stronger, sharper, hungrier. The city, once a chorus of doubt, turned into a rhythm I could harness. Outside the studio, my life was still plain. My family still sighed, the neighbors still gossiped about my waist. But inside, on sticky floors, among other mad dreamers I grew, small performances led to side gigs, then bigger routines. I learned beats from Angolan Kuduro instructors, from samba veterans, from hip-hop purists. I listened, adapted, absorbed. One Friday, Inez offered me a spot backing her up at a showcase. Not as a soloist, just another figure in the moving line. You would have thought I'd been handed a crown. My mother found the ticket stub, frowned, but didn't argue. She was weary, I think, of trying to reshape me. Just promise you won't regret this later, she said almost kindly. Crisscrossed years blurred forward. I earned enough money to move out. Sometimes I sent small payments home. Sometimes when my father was ill or my sister's school fees threatened to eat up their budget, I sent more. I never stopped practicing. Each gig was a stone in a new foundation. Teaching kids in favelas, choreographing music videos, assisting on TV sets. Then the breakthrough, I was asked to choreograph a major competition show's opening number, the São Paulo dance vibe. Broadcast prime time, thousands in the audience, millions at home. A real job with real money and my name on the contract. My hands shook as I signed it, half expecting the universe to yank it away at the last second. I worked for weeks, night and day, perfecting the routine. I poured every past humiliation, every unkind word, every spiteful giggle into the movements. I called dancers I trusted, kids who remembered their own hunger, their own outsider's ache. The show opened to fireworks, strobe lights, a crowd roaring in the pulsing heart of São Paulo. I stood at the edge of the stage, headset tight, cues whispering in my ear. When the music rose, my heart rose with it. My dancers tore across the floor, flipping, popping, writhing, gliding. The fusion of hope and grit, discipline and chaos, all the moods of the city distilled into sweat and muscle, telling my story and theirs. After the show, critics wrote that it was fresh and raw as a city's dawn. My name, Mauro Ribeiro, appeared in bold. Inez sent a message, told you so. Invitations started flowing, judges wanted interviews. A studio producer asked if I'd like to teach my own masterclass. Students signed up in droves. My face appeared in an online article, 10 São Paulo artists who redefine dance. Success came slow, but when it arrived, it was undeniable. Yet something deeper tugged at me. I remembered my family's faces, the laughter, the apartment with its chipped walls and smells of feijoada. I remembered Karina, my old classmates, everyone who saw my dream as a punchline. Their words hadn't entirely left me. Part of my joy still felt stolen, unfinished, so I planned something risky. I called my mother, voice trembling with hope and nerves. There's a performance this Sunday, I said, at the Municipal Theatre. I'm the choreographer, I want you all to come. There was a pause, as if she had to retrieve her old tools of skepticism and patch them over her love. All of us. Yes, please. Invites went out to cousins, uncles, even Karina, who now worked in a law firm. Most said maybe. My father grumbled. My aunt sighed, worried about traffic. Even so, on the night they came, dressed awkwardly smart. I met them outside the theatre's marble columns. They hovered in a pack, shy, uncertain, as if waiting to be told this was a mistake. Inside, the house glowed. Gold light danced on old chandeliers. Seats filled with people from all across the city. I saw my family scanning the crowd, surprised to see such a mix. Young, old, black, brown, rich, struggling. The performance wasn't about me, not really. But it was my vision, dancers moving through the entire theatre space, not just the stage. We blended samba reggae, breaking, contemporary. The floor vibrated with colour and breath. When the dancers parted and the spotlight found me in the wings, guiding a 6-year-old prodigy through the closing phrase, I saw my mother's mouth fall open. Karina craned her neck. Even Renato sat forward, his usual slouch gone. By the final crescendo, our troupe converged in a fever of movement, every limb asserting existence with a courage that burned. Applause came quick, then kept building and building, until the conductor gestured to the dancers and last handed me the bouquet and pulled me into the center. I stood beneath that hot white light, vision blurry with tears. I looked up, searching for my family. My mother was on her feet, clapping as if she could pull the ceiling down. My father, so solid all his life, wiped his eyes. Andrea, my sister, had a camera pointed right at me. As I stepped forward to the edge of the stage, the crowd ebbed and my family pressed through, like pilgrims laboring toward the truth. My mother pushed to the front, grabbed my face in her hands and kissed my cheek. She was shaking. "You did it," she said, her voice cracked open. "You did it, I am so proud." Karina waited her turn, her mouth was pinched, her eyes uncertain. Moro-eyed, she cleared her throat. "This was amazing, really, I'm sorry for before. I didn't know." And for the first time, surrounded by all the doubters, I saw something break free in their gaze, a shock, curiosity, humility. The concrete proof was there. The roars of the crowd, the city's brightest, coming up to hug me, thank me, ask for lessons, photos, stories. I even saw the studio instructor from all those years ago, standing sheepish and small in the aisle. Renato clapped me on the back hard. "Let me take a picture with you, so when you're famous worldwide I can say I knew you when you were just you." Something inside me, a tight knot of anger, shame, craving, slipped loose. I realized in that moment the city had become mine, but so had my story. The night spilled out into the street. My family crowded around, asking questions, teasing and proud. For the first time, they wanted to know it all. Not just how I survived, but how it had felt, where I'd gone, who I loved, what I dreamed of next. But the secret wasn't in the technique, the turns or leaps or perfect timing. The secret was this: surviving rejection, learning to dance with shame on your back until it turned into courage, leaving home so something true could grow, then bringing it all back, proof in hand, so nobody could ever call it ridiculous again. I walked home with my arm around my mother, the familiar city rattling with night buses, street vendors, new music leaking from clubs. My body, tired, thrummed with something better than pride. My shame was gone, replaced by a calm certainty. Once I danced alone behind closed doors. Now I belonged to São Paulo and it, at last, belonged to me.